The lungs are organs that work tirelessly to supply oxygen to the body and eliminate waste. However, did you know that there are natural ways to improve their function and keep them operating at their best? Research on the heart and lungs is a very interesting field. Studies have found that by the age of 50, most people have lost about 40% of their lung capacity. And by the age of 80, this number can rise to 60%. A key question is, what can we do to improve this? The answer is, when we stop using our lungs effectively, such as when we begin to sit or stand with poor posture, our lungs no longer function at full capacity. Maintaining good posture and practicing deep breathing are crucial factors for keeping our lungs in good shape throughout life. Through breathing techniques, proper hydration, or simple exercises, there are many ways we can enhance lung health and boost energy levels. Let's take a deeper look at how you can care for your lungs and enjoy the benefits of deeper and healthier breathing. This reverses lung damage and cleans the airways in 3 days.
Well, we're going to have a look at lungs. Now, in my last lecture I talked about PACE, progressive acceleration of cardiopulmonary exertion. In the book he quotes the Framingham Heart Study. Remember that one that said that people with high cholesterol levels don't get Alzheimer's? You know, if you stop your statin drugs today, when you go to the doctor, you don't have to say anything, because sometimes they give you such a hard time, is that right? You're gonna die, do you know they have no right to say that to you? What one girl said to me, she said, I'm off all my medication for my inflammatory arthritis. She said, I go to my specialist, I just sit there like a mummy. He does all the tests, they come back, he gives the next script, she says thank you, and she walks out. Because she said, if he knows that I've stopped my meds, if he knows what I'm doing, he will get so angry he won't see me. Now that is wrong, that is very wrong. So she's not lying, can you see that? She just says nothing. So remember that you're your doctor. And if your doctor gets rude with you, you've got every right to say to him, you're not God. You don't know when I'm going to die. I've had enough of this. And just find a doctor who, if you want just the test, who's not going to give you that hard time. Because they have no right to do that. And you know, we the consumer are the ones that can change the system. In Revelation chapter 18, the chapter talks about Babylon going down. And then in verse 23, it says, for her merchants were the great men of the earth. Her merchants were the great men of the earth. Merchants. Sales. The wealthiest company in the whole world is the pharmaceutical company. How do I know it's the pharmaceutical company? Let's have a look at a little bit more. For her merchants were the great men of the earth who deceived all nations by her sorceries. Now if you go to the Greek and look at the interpretation of that word, it comes from the word pharmakia, pharmacies. Do you have pharmacies? What do pharmacies sell? Drugs. They sell drugs. Drugs don't cure disease. They just change the form and location of the disease. And the people say, well, what'll I do? Say, just whatever works. You keep adjusting. You keep adjusting until it works for you. I think I told you I can't eat red capsicum. Why can't I read it? Well, I'm not quite sure, but I'm just not going to eat it. Sometimes you don't know the whole story. I actually know a little bit more. I have inherited genes to arthritis. If someone has arthritis, the nightshades can do that, but I have no problem with cayenne pepper. And isn't that from the capsicum family? Do you know who I'm going to listen to? This one. My body says yes for cayenne pepper, no for fresh capsicum. I'm listening. Okay, I'll follow you there. That's why you're the doctor. No one can tell you what your body can tell you. In the Framingham Heart Study, remember 30,000 people over 30 years? They found that by the age of 50, people had lost 40% lung capacity. Did you hear that? By the age of 50, 40% lung capacity had been lost. Why? Because they don't use their lungs anymore. Do you know, children, they don't worry if they get to this. Children, don't worry. So why do we? Now, sitting right now, you're breathing in your lungs 500 mil, you're breathing out 500 mil waste. When you get to the state that I just illustrated to you, you're breathing in 3,600 mil of air. And you're breathing out 3,600 mil of waste. Got that? You see, your lungs are an organ of elimination. Now let's once again go to the CBD, the central business district of the human body, the cell. And the glucose goes in from the food we eat. It goes through a 20-step pathway. And this 20-step pathway gives us 2 units of energy. The end result of the 20-step pathway is a chemical form of glucose called pyruvate. And pyruvate, as the chemical form of glucose, gets fed into the powerhouse. Powerhouse is an 8-step pathway, and this 8-step pathway delivers to us 36 units of energy. How come an 8-step pathway gives us 36 units and a 20-step pathway only gives us 2? It's oxygen. So this pathway is called the anaerobic pathway. Anaerobic meaning no oxygen. This pathway is the aerobic pathway. It's called the aerobic pathway because it uses oxygen.
Lung cells not only have the function of breathing, but also play a crucial role in supplying oxygen to every cell in your body. Oxygen combines with glucose to produce energy through a process called cellular respiration. If your lung capacity decreases, the amount of oxygen supplied to the cells also reduces, which can leave you feeling tired and sluggish. However, the good news is that you can still regenerate and enhance your lung function, even after many years of neglect. One effective technique to achieve this is diaphragmatic breathing. This technique involves breathing deeply, using your abdomen to inhale instead of shallow chest breathing. This helps strengthen the diaphragm and provide more oxygen to the body. Additionally, cardiovascular exercises like brisk walking or swimming also help the lungs work harder, gradually increasing their capacity and efficiency.
Well, let's go. Remember Proverbs 14 verse 6? It says, "A scorner seeketh wisdom and findeth it not, but knowledge is easy to him that understands." My aim is to give you an understanding. So in our lungs, so here's our lungs, we've got 2 lungs, the trachea comes down and the trachea splits into 2, and then it's like the branches of a tree. Maybe if I don't move. So it's like the branches of a tree, and let's magnify the end of the branch. The end of the branch has got looks like a little bunch of grapes, and they're called the alveoli. You've heard of the alveoli? Let's magnify an alveoli. Now the alveoli has a little capillary network going over it, and that little capillary network basically looks like that. So it's over every little one. And I used to say we have about 5 million alveoli. And my husband is my biggest critic, and I'm very glad, because if I pass Michael, I'll pass anyone. And I was reading a study done by some doctors, and they found that every cigarette smoked killed an alveoli. And when I said that, I saw my husband quickly get paper and pen, and he said to me later, "Impossible." He said, "Impossible. If an alveoli basically explodes with every cigarette smoke," he said, "it's impossible if we've only got, say, 5 million. So I went back to the drawing boards and I went to Gray's Anatomy, 300 million. We have 300 million alveoli. Isn't that incredible?
When the body is dehydrated, not only does oxygen absorption decrease, but small bronchi also constrict to conserve water, which results in insufficient oxygen supply. Therefore, maintaining proper hydration is very important to ensure you receive optimal oxygen levels. As research from the Framingham Heart Study points out, by the age of 50, most people have lost about 40% of their lung capacity. One of the reasons many people only breathe through their chest is because they use only the upper part of their lungs and don't fully utilize their lung capacity. This is a consequence of high chest breathing habits, primarily caused by poor posture. When you stand with improper posture, your body cannot engage the abdominal muscles in the breathing process, which is why we need to maintain correct posture and a straight back to help the body use the abdominal muscles when breathing. Our bodies are designed to use the abdominal muscles for breathing. The transverse abdominal muscle, a key organ in the body, connects from the spine to the hips and ribs. When the transverse abdominal muscle is strong, it helps you stand upright. If you don't work your abdominal muscles, the transverse abdominal muscle weakens, leading to poor posture and inefficient breathing. Therefore, strengthening the abdomen, such as through Pilates exercises, is essential. Pilates helps build core strength and improves overall health. The strength of the human body is truly determined by the strength of the core, as it directly affects the ability to maintain posture and breathe correctly.
When I was in the Bronx, there was this 70-year-old guy who was weeding. Are there any weeds in the Bronx? Well, there was about 2 inches around the telegraph pole between that and the cement. And I was watching him weed, and he was weeding like this. And his back was totally straight. He was weeding right down like this. I thought, look at that straight back. And when I was in Africa, I saw this quite large lady, easily late 60s, and she's got a broom, and you know they're short brooms, and she's sweeping, and her back is totally straight. When you go back to your room, bend, and look at what your back does. It must be straight. That back must not bend. Now what stops us going down is usually our hamstrings. So you can stretch out your hamstrings. Do it every day. Go down a little bit further, but keep that back straight. And when you lift, I think we all know that, don't we? Now, this is how.
Regular exercise is very important for maintaining lung health. It doesn't have to be intense interval training. Simple activities like walking or cycling are enough. After a week, many people may progress to a point where they can sustain 1 hour of daily exercise or perform 15 minutes of high-intensity interval training. This is a simple, effective, and cost-free way to improve lung and brain health. These activities can even help clear the cobwebs from the brain, making you feel more alert. However, to ensure the lungs function efficiently, there are some important factors to stop or change. One of these factors is smoking, as it reduces the lung's ability to absorb oxygen and causes serious damage to lung tissue. Additionally, reducing stress, maintaining a healthy diet, and avoiding exposure to air pollution are crucial to keeping the lungs healthy.
Wheat must stop. Why must wheat stop? Well, it was hybridized in the 50s, went worldwide in the 70s. So by the 1990s, every bread, every pasta, every cereal, every cracker, every donut, what's it made out of? The hybridized wheat. And the hybridization of the wheat changed the structure. And it's a more complex protein or gluten structure. And the reaction with most people is excess mucus in the eustachian tubes. The other thing that causes that excess mucus, in Australia, the assessment is that 60% of people have an allergy to dairy. Now, if the cow's milk was straight from Lou LaBelle the cow out the back door eating grass on an organic farm, the allergy would probably come down to 30%. See, we're the only creature that drinks milk past babyhood, is that right? People say, what milk do you drink? I say, I'm weaned, I eat food. Milk is for babies. And yet, the milk in Australia today in the supermarket, and I'm sure in your country it would be the same, it's been pasteurised, it's been homogenised, and that changes the structure of the milk. In fact, if you were to give the cow's milk in the supermarket to a newborn baby calf, that calf would die. You see, pasteurisation of the milk kills all the bacteria, but it also kills the healthy bacteria and kills all the vitamin C's. And I know in Australia, in the Aboriginal community, a lot of babies were getting scurvy because they were just being given powdered cow's milk with no vitamin C in it at all. But a common reaction to dairy and wheat, both of them, one or the other, is excess mucus. Excess mucus in the eustachian tubes. We touched on this last night. And if someone has asthma, stopping these foods will usually clear up that asthma. If someone has eczema, I've found stopping these foods can clear up the eczema. So to make sure you're getting your full quota of oxygen, these foods need to be eliminated so that you haven't got this build-up of mucus in your eustachian tubes and in the lungs. The other thing that no one should eat really is the refined sugar. And as I mentioned in another lecture, you've got an excellent sugar here, it's palm sugar. So make your desserts and things with the palm sugar. I know it's not in little granules like sugar, but all you have to do is put it in a little bit of water and heat it up, and it'll go liquid, and you can put that into your cakes or your biscuits or your... So what are we going to make cakes and biscuits with? About once a week I'll make my husband an apple pie. He loves apple pie. I make it with white spelt. A little bit of white spelt, a little bit of wholemeal spelt. The white makes it a little bit finer. And I stew up the apples, and when I finish stewing them I put sultanas in, and so I cook the pastry, half cook it, put the stewed apples and the sultanas in, put the pastry on top. How do I make the pastry? It's usually half a cup of water and half a cup of olive oil to 2 cups of flour. That's the rule of thumb. No sugar at all in that. It's sweet from the apples and sweet from the sultanas, and it is a very delicious apple pie. So God gave us taste buds for a reason. When my children were homeschooled, I used to make them dessert a couple of times a week. I would make lemon pies, I would make things with dried fruits, because if you don't feed your children well, as soon as they go near a shop, what are they going to want to do?
Finally, to strengthen the lungs over time, don't forget the importance of rest and recovery. Adequate sleep is essential, as the body uses this time to repair and regenerate, including the lungs. Therefore, maintain a balance between exercise and proper rest to build a healthy and sustainable respiratory system over the long term. Rest will help you achieve a healthy and resilient respiratory system. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have learned helpful tips to improve your lung health. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more natural health tips, and leave a comment below. I'll see you in the next video.